Hello beautiful people, welcome back to my channel. I'm Oge and you're watching About the Book and Stuff, a place where we freely talk about books however we want. In today's video, I'll be doing a review on Half Girlfriend by Chetan Bhagat. Chetan Bhagat is an Indian author and a columnist, and he has quite a number of books in his name really, and Half Girlfriend is his sixth novel. Most of his works have been turned into movies, so if you have not read any of his works, you probably have seen one of his Bollywood movies. Even Half Girlfriend has also been turned into a movie, so I hope that you find the time to read this text, or better still, watch the movie adaptation of it. Half Girlfriend is one of those texts that I had so much fun reading, but I gave it 3 stars. Now, I didn't give it 3 stars because it was badly written. As a matter of fact, if you pick up this text to read, you would not want to drop it until you get to the very end of it. But I gave it 3 stars because of the vibe I was getting from the text. Now, it is one thing to read a text by an Indian author, and it is another thing to watch a Bollywood movie. When I was reading this text, I was getting the vibe that I was watching a Bollywood movie. And not that it's a bad thing really, but if you're familiar with Bollywood movies, you would know that most of their scenes are actually exaggerated, and I found it very difficult to see these characters as actual human beings, because sometimes they do certain things and you wonder and you be like, no, there's no way a person would do this in real life. So that was why I gave this book 3 stars. This text is a romance novel. It's a romance novel that tells the story of Madav and Riya. Madav was introduced to us as a young boy from Bihar, a very rural community where they didn't have good schools, they had bad roads, bad water and things like that. Madav was the son of the ruling family in Bihar, but like most of the people from that community, he didn't know how to speak proper English. But there was one thing he knew how to do, and that was how to play basketball. He had this interest in education, and he really wanted to improve himself and his community. So he applied to the prestigious St. Stephen's College through the sports quota, and he was taken. And that was how he gained admission into this prestigious St. Stephen's College in Delhi. Riya, on the other hand, was a very pretty young lady that was born and bred in New Delhi. She was from a very wealthy family, and she got admitted into St. Stephen's College through the sports quota also because she knew how to play basketball, and that was where she met Madav, and they kind of became friends after that, and they ended up spending a lot of time with each other. As you have probably guessed, Madav fell in love with Riya, and he really wanted her to be his girlfriend, but Riya did not want that. She had her reasons obviously, but those were reasons that she was not willing to share. She told Madav that they should continue to be friends. I mean, they were good friends, so they should just continue to be friends, and Madav was okay with that for a little bit, but it got to a point where he just lost it. He was like, why do we have to continue being friends when it's obvious that you enjoy my company, you like me more than you like your normal friends, you know, it is obvious that you really want to be with me, then what is stopping you from being with me? And Riya did not want to explain, she didn't want to say anything, and he got really upset, and he gave her an ultimatum. He said, okay, if you don't want to be my girlfriend, then let's make out, because that's what many people do. It was just not something that Riya wanted to hear, and she got very upset with him, and she told him not to speak to her anymore. So 1 year later, Riya got married to her childhood friend Rohan, who was a businessman back in London. So after the wedding, he took Riya back to London with him, and Madav was very devastated. He was so upset that he almost did not want to continue studying anymore, but through some miracle, he was able to graduate. So it was time for him to start looking for jobs, and he went for interviews, and one day he was offered a job opportunity, but he didn't want to be in Delhi anymore, so he wants to go back to his hometown. When Madav got back to his hometown, it was obvious that due to the education he had received, he knew that his mother's school was very backward. They didn't have electricity, they didn't have toilets, they didn't have infrastructure, so it was obvious that he needed to do something about it. So he went to one of the local leaders to ask for funds, and this man told him that there was nothing he could do for him. So a few weeks later, after Madav had already asked for these funds, this man called Madav to tell him that the Gates Foundation will be coming to India, and if Madav plays his cards right, there's a possibility that the foundation will visit his mother's school. When he met with some of the officials from the foundation, they encouraged him to prepare a speech to present to Bill Gates, and preferably in English. Now, even though Madav had studied in St. Stephen's College, he still had a problem with English language, and even though he had improved to a certain extent, he didn't think that he could pull off writing a speech in English and presenting a speech in English language. So he knew that he needed some extra lesson, and so he registered registered for a course now in one other town, and it was there that he had a reunion with Riya. And Riya at the time was already divorced. It was Riya that eventually helped him with his speech and things like that. And it was obvious that Riya really cared about Madav, and it was obvious that Madav had not even gotten over Riya. So they kind of continued their friendship, or sort of their relationship now. So when the day for the presentation came, Madav did a very good job in presenting, and he was able to get the grant from the Gates Foundation, and he was so happy. So he wanted to share this news with Riya, only to find out that she left a note for him. So in that letter that she left with one of his students, Madav found out that Riya had cancer, right? And she had just 3 months to live. And she begged him not to try to look for her because she wanted to spend her last days alone and, without being a burden to anybody. That obviously upset him so much, but there was nothing he could do. He tried to look for her, but he was not able to find her. So a few months later, after Riya had disappeared, somebody brought a journal to Madav, and that was Riya's journal. But Madav was still too hurt to want to go through this journal himself. So he took this journal to the author of this text, that's chetan Bhagat now. When he took this journal to him, he told him to read this journal and tell him what he thinks he needs to know. It was from this journal that a lot of things were revealed, and we got to understand Riya's perspective. We got to understand what she felt, or how she felt about Madav, and why she had to do the things that she did in the text. So one of the major themes in this text is that of love, and that's also love between Madav and Riya. And honestly, it was a very interesting love story that I cannot even begin to explain. So read this text and get the full gist. Another theme in this text is perseverance, and this is seen in the character of Madav. Madav was known to be this person that never gave up hope on whatever it is that he has set out his mind to achieve. And this was seen in how he went about, trying to win the love of Riya. And even though Riya did not love him back, he loved her regardless, and he persevered until he was able to get what he really wanted from her. And there are other themes in this text that I think you should totally read. As a matter of fact, I prefer the adaptation to the text itself. So I think that if you cannot lay your hands on the text, you should definitely watch the adaptation because it is way better. And this is new for me because I always prefer the written versions to the adaptation, but yeah, this is the exception. So guys, if you have enjoyed this video, do not forget to like, share, comment, turn on the notification bell so you get notified anytime I post another video. Subscribe, and I will see you guys next week. Mwah!